Peace, guys. Patrick, Conservative Rap, and in this video we're going to be talking about more arrests to come for the deep state, more deep state exposure, and accountability. As time passes, people are hearing more about the corruption, the DOJ, the FBI, NSA, DNI, I mean, you name it, CIA. When we talk about the deep state, in this episode, you're going to hear more about that. And what we have effectively is the Patriots and the head of these organizations, Kash, Tulsi Gabbard, Bongino, they're digging deep, right? And we're cleaning house effectively. Laundering money is no longer an option for a lot of these people. And you see, it's just criminals protecting criminals. Like the judge just ruled on the, you may be aware of this, the Alien Enemies Act, saying, yes, we can deport these people. And you see a lot of the Democrat politicians, many of the rhinos also, protecting them. And this sets the stage and the narrative, I think, for later accountability. Because, as I always say, the Democrat Party may, in soon order, like cease to exist. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get into some specific examples about this. Check this out. I'm going to share. Let's talk about New Jersey first. Newark Mayor Ras Baraka headed to trial on trespassing charge after arrest at ICE facility. You guys probably have heard of this in New Jersey. Many Democrats went down and actually had, let's just say, altercation with ICE officials, which is itself a felony act. All right. Ras Baraka, mayor of New Jersey's largest city and Democrat candidate for governor, let's see where that goes for him, said a trespassing charge against him was silly, petty, and should be dropped after he appeared in federal court Thursday morning. The charge, which came after he tried to tour a federal immigration detention facility in his city, but was arrested by federal agents during a scrum. And that's a nice euphemism for effectively what was a straight up disrespect. It was a criminal act, right? Impeding law enforcement. That involved 3 members of Congress, continues to be higher profile than the typical single misdemeanor case would be. Now it appears it's headed for trial in mid-July, a month after the gubernatorial primary. All right. Also, similarly, let's move on. Last Refuge put this out, the Conservative Treehouse. Wisconsin judge indicted for insisting illegal alien avoid ICE agents in court. Remember, the illegals are their foot soldiers, and you're going to start to see a lot of politicians come up to defend these people in the midst of this insanity. And watch what this sets the tone for later as we clean house with the FBI, DOJ, etc. Milwaukee County City Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan was indicted today by a grand jury on charges of obstruction and concealing an individuals from arrest. These are the same charges outlined in the criminal complaint: obstructing a criminal illegal alien capture, concealing the illegal alien to avoid apprehension and arrest. The criminal complaint against Judge Hannah Dugan reveals the judge purposely demanded the ICE agents and FBI officials to go to another part of the building to speak with the chief judges while she guided the criminal illegal alien through the jury room to an outside exiting facility to release him. This is fantastic. Let's move on to X, and I'm going to paint the picture for you. You'll see the logic or the train of a reason I'm hoping to get at and point out. Check this out. This is Trisha McLaughlin on X. Members of Congress cannot break the law in the name of quote-unquote oversight. All members and staff need to comply with facility rules, procedures, and instructions from ICE personnel on site, including 24-hour notice. ICE facilitation guidelines for congressional members and staff. Then she points out to the individual. And this was in response to the Homeland Security that put this out. Let's take a quick listen.
This is a cheap political stunt that this mayor who's running for higher office wanted his 15 minutes of fame, and he's willing to do it on the backs of our law enforcement officers.
Correct.
By trespassing, by storming that facility, he put our law enforcement officers at risk, he put our staff at risk, and he actually put the detainees themselves at risk. But what I would like to ask the mayor is, who does he want out of that facility? Is it the MS-13 gang members? Is it the known terrorists? Is it the child rapists? Is it the murders? which of these heinous actors does he want out of this detention facility?
That's a really good question. Now, you recently hinted that there could be additional arrests made in this protest. There were 3 Democrat members of Congress that were also allegedly there, allegedly stormed the facility and got into a physical altercation with federal agents. Do you see any of those members of Congress possibly being charged?
Members of Congress and any public official is not above the law. You cannot body slam, body ram, shove, strike, or otherwise assault a law enforcement officer. Everything is still on the table. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice, but it is despicable to watch members of Congress assault law enforcement, and we will do everything we can to protect our brave law enforcement who so bravely operate this facility, and we thank them every day, Mark.
No.
Fantastic. So
this is a cheap political stunt that this mayor who's running for...
Give me a second here to retweet this quote. This sets the stage for even more arrests as the truth about these deep state actors and crimes against children, etc., continue to be right. Let's just do a hyphen. I think a hyphen is more logical, right? Continue to be exposed. All right. And now next, let's move on to Florida. All right, check this out. So Florida troopers are now federally credentialed to arrest illegal immigrants on their own. Amen. Florida officials announced that 1,800 state highway patrol troopers are the first in the nation to receive federal credentials under an immigration and customs enforcement agreement, allowing them to arrest illegal immigrants on their own accord. Ron DeSantis said on a press conference that the state's going to partner with ICE to include what's known as 287G agreements, where state and local law enforcement partner with ICE to help arrest and deport illegal immigrants. Florida Highway Patrol entered into 287G task force model that gives them the power to arrest foreign nationals who are in the country illegally and place detainers on them during routine policing, such as traffic stops. So watch this set the tone. There's going to be other red states that adopt a similar philosophy. And again, first we're eliminating this. You're seeing them defend Garcia, child traffickers, human traffickers, and watch where this goes. Think about it. The politicians, they're going after Kash, Bongino, Tulsi, RFK, and they just got there. The people going after them have been in politics for like 40 years, and they feel threatened by them. Like, why, right? Think about it. Let's move back to X. All right, let's see. Go here. I am going to share this post. All right, here we go. Share. And this is a perfect example. Let me pause this first. Rewind. Share screen. And we're going to go back to X. Share. So check this out. And this is Patriots in control. RFK absolutely demolishes the libtard, blue-haired congresswoman, quote unquote. Allow me to answer that by pointing out the absolutely cataclysmic disorganization of this agency under your oversight for 40 years. Fire. RFK is embarrassing her so badly that she's forced to cut him off mid-answer. Let's check.
In both 2024, 2025, Congress, again, power of the purse resides here, appropriated $246 million for CDC's tobacco prevention programs. Do you commit to following the law again, fully obligating those funds so that we can help adults who want to quit using tobacco and prevent teens from becoming addicted?
Allow me to answer that by pointing out the absolute cataclysmic disorganization of this agency under your oversight for 40 years. We had 9 separate offices of women's health. When we consolidate them, the Democrats say we're eliminating them. We're not. We're still appropriating the $3.7 billion, but we're not keeping all 9. We had 8 separate offices for minority health. We eliminated one. We had 27 HIV officers.
Okay, let me just, I'm going to
We had
interrupt.
59
The
behavioral
chair is
health
right. I'm
programs.
well over time. If you could just get us what has been eliminated, why you're doing it, and the criteria by which the elimination has occurred. That is information that this committee needs in order to be able to do our job in terms of appropriating funds. Thank you.
Sorry, I
And
know
we'll
that,
gladly provide that to you, but right now we're under a court order that prohibits us from doing so.
Crazy. I know the audio might scratch at certain levels, just with the decibel level. So let me know if the sound is coming through clear on your end. All right. Again, Patriots in control. Unbelievable. RFK says corruption at the NIH is the sole reason there isn't a cure for Alzheimer's. For 20 years, because of utter corruption and fraud, we were displacing or directing Alzheimer's to one hypothesis, and any other hypothesis was shut down. We should have the cure for Alzheimer's today. We don't have it purely because of corruption at the NIH. We're going to have it quickly.
We're switching the
This is just the
trajectory.
beginning. We're like 100,
So that we're
120
going to
days
really
in.
focus narrowly on chronic disease, ending the chronic disease epidemic. And then we're going to make sure that the science cannot be corrupted. At every scientific study is replicated. At the raw data for those studies is published. At the peer review for those studies is published. And we're going to focus on making sure that we get to younger scientists rather than the old boys network. And I could talk to you about scientific corruption all day long, about horror stories that we know have happened within NIH. One of those, probably the worst, is the amyloid plaque scandal. For 20 years, we were, because of utter corruption and fraud, we were directing Alzheimer's research to one hypothesis, and any other hypothesis was shut down. We should have the cure for Alzheimer's today. We don't have it purely because of corruption at NIH.
Ms.
And we
Frankel.
are going to have it quickly.
Ms.
Thank you,
Frankel.
Mr.
Yeah, really exposing these guys. DOJ and AI put this out more on Big Pharma, right? Big Pharma's price gouging is a national scandal. Take Ozempic, $1,200 a month here versus $88 in London. Trump's tariff strategy forced China to slash their levies from 125 to 10%, proving that hardball tactics work. The Farm Act, Section 3, already exposed how foreign interests manipulate U.S. markets, and now it's pharma's turn. These companies gain patents, inflate costs, and lobby D.C. to protect profits, not patients. The initial tariff chaos wasn't a bug, it was the feature. Leverage created to pressure and reset this rigged system. Real reform starts when politicians stop taking pharma cash and start putting America's first. Amen, and a woman too. All right, and next on X, check this out. And this is a Democrat. Props to Ro Khanna. You'll see more about this guy. Really,
Mr. Speaker, I rise today.
You know, that Democrat-Republican divide, it's gonna like turn into more of like a populist sort of overturn, where it's really gonna be, as more of this information comes out, the people versus the elite class. And that's what I love about the America First agenda and what the Patriots are doing. It's really actually unifying Americans, because we can understand who's really been in control and who's been robbing us, and in this instance, keeping us sick for the last, I don't know, very, very long time. All right, so today I'm introducing legislation. I'll let him just speak for himself.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to introduce as legislation President Trump's executive order for the most favored nation status on drug pricing. My legislation will codify President Trump's executive order, which basically says that Americans should not pay more for drugs than people in other countries and other parts of the world. Right now, we're paying 2 to 3 times more for our drugs than people in other industrialized nations. Now, this executive order, codified by the legislation, will allow our cabinet secretaries to put pressure on Big Pharma and make sure that they are not price gouging, and will allow for the importation of cheaper drugs. So you ask, why do we need the legislation? Because the reality is that Big Pharma will sue for the executive order like they did in the previous Trump administration. Right. And in the previous administration, they managed to kill the executive order. The only way we can stand up to Big Pharma is to codify in legislation what the president wants to do in an executive order. So here's the deal. If I can cross the aisle and support President Trump's executive order and legislation, every Republican should be willing to cross the aisle and support my legislation. It's a pretty simple test. Are we going to stand in this body with the $16 billion that Big Pharma spent on lobbying? Or are we going to stand with the American people? We will know that answer based on how many co-sponsors we get for my legislation that simply codifies Donald Trump's executive order.
Amen. Again, exposing the deep state actors. It's the Democrats and it's the rhinos. And they run cover for a lot of corruption and a lot of what's been keeping us sick for longer than you and I have even been alive. So let's move on. Ed Martin, more on Ed Martin. Check this out. Zero Hedge. Ed Martin reveals J6 pipe bomber probe shakeup. Warns DOJ much, much worse than people think. And this is what I mean. First, it's going to be like, immigration and why are they protecting terrorists? Then it's going to be pharma. Why are they protecting big pharma? Soon it's going to be we got to get the house clean first, right? Because they have their actors in the law enforcement agencies. And once we have that set up, then like more information is going to come out and we're going to really realize how sick and corrupt and indecent and inhumane these people are. Ed Martin, a senior official in the Trump administration's DOJ, is warning that corruption within federal law enforcement is far more severe than the American public realizes. No shit. Martin, who holds the role of director of the Weaponization Working Group, Associate Deputy Attorney General, and Pardon Attorney, made comments during an interview with Tucker Carlson. Martin weighed in on the unresolved case of the Jan 6 pipe bomber, expressing frustration with the investigation's lack of progress, wondering whether the lack of answers may have been intentional. The pipe bomber, as a prosecutor, I've got the pipe bomber case in my office, Martin told Carlson. Martin revealed that FBI Director Dan Bongino told him that the Bureau had reassigned agents to the case. However, the renewed effort was still in its early stages. It's been going on for 5 weeks, Martin said, likening the past probe to the bumbling Keystone Cops. Starts at 16 minutes. Obviously a great listen for those who have time in terms of this interview with Tucker. Props to Tucker and his work, actual, investigative journalism, and really great to see. And I'm going to move on. Another quick example. Let's move on to this. Just quickly, again from the conservative treehouse. I thought this was interesting. DNI Tulsi Gabbard yanks National Intelligence Council from CIA silo and fires top officials. Cleaning house. Getting their, like the people who would leak, it has the fake news running blind, right? Because they have to make up stories without their actual soldiers and agents in control in many of these agencies. So the deep state clean-out move is coordinated by DNI Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe. News is coming out about DNI Tulsi Gabbard taking the National Intelligence Council out of the CIA silo and removing 2 heads of the agency, Mike Collins and Deputy Chair Maria Langen-Reichhoff. Both officials were conducting intelligence operations on behalf of the lawfare-aligned intel community. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has fired the top officials from whistleblowers described as radically opposed to Trump, anti-Trumpers in the agency, right? Doing politics in what effectively is supposed to be law enforcement. Kash Patel has a really great book on this. It's called Government Gangsters. Fascinating read. The book, I believe, was turned into like a documentary that I would highly recommend as well, and has moved the agency to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, or ODNI, to ensure she can block any politicization of intelligence, Fox News Digital has learned. Gabbard fired Mike Collins, who was serving as acting chair of the National Intelligence Council, and his deputy, Maria Langen-Reichhoff, yesterday, senior officials told Fox News Digital. So again, guys, cleaning house. This is really kind of fascinating to see. And I love what's happening. Lastly, I'm going to just share Cat Turd. Props to Cat Turd on X. Also worth a retweet. It's blatantly obvious now that Trump and his cabinet work for the American people. 90% of the Republicans and Democrats in Congress work for lobbyists, and they're for sale to the highest bidder. Again, guys, the deep state, remember, is entrenched. All right, and it's let me just X this out. They're entrenched. People became awake during Biden's era with the sleeping quote unquote bumbling president. But now the phase is really exposing the system. We're at the next phase of the narrative, and people are starting, just the general populace. It's not like you and I who've been studying this stuff, into this stuff, and awake, right? We have to wake the people up so they can see how the globalists work. They can see how the system works. We've seen the fraud, we've seen the waste. Now we're going to show the real corruption, the despicable stuff. And especially as we get close to the midterms, the deep state's going to be so weak that we can actually go after them. Justice is coming. And a lot of them, I think, probably are going to just leave the country. They're going to flee, but the higher level people are going to be the ones we see getting jail time in Alcatraz. Again, thanks for listening. ConservativeRap.com. Links to my socials below. And check out TikTok as well as Instagram for the rhymes and the poetry. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend. And God bless America. Thanks and take care.